So if value is not assigned or initialized, then JavaScript will keep it as undefined. You generally know that. That means, for example, so suppose we have var x and document dot write x equal to the value of x. Then what is x now? X is equal to what? Undefined. So how to verify whether it is defined or not? You learned in JavaScript how to verify. How to verify whether value is defined or not in a variable. So we will use a simple condition. If x, what does it means? So if x, what it will do? Return true if value is defined. If value is defined inside x, if it is having some value, then it will return true. In JavaScript, how you will verify whether value is defined or not? By using a simple logic. So if x, it will return true if there is a value inside x. If value is not defined and you are trying to use that value, then JavaScript based technologies will return undefined as a value. And developer need to verify whether it is defined or not by using the keyword undefined. So actually we can use undefined. That means this is good. There is another technique. If x is equal to undefined, you can write like this also. But we don't want to verify negative. We want to verify the positive. That means is it defined? We don't want to verify is it not defined. That is the reason how to verify is it defined just by using if, right? That is the basic tradition. So here what we are trying to do is we have some value. So suppose I am writing some reference here. Yeah. I will put some constant and state. Suppose age and set age is equal to use state. Use state and there is no value mentioned in it. And you are trying to print that age here. That means what we are doing is in a paragraph, we are trying to print the age. When you are trying to print the age, actually here, so you see the age is not there. We don't have age. Why? Because by default age will return as what? Undefined. So we write a simple condition here. You see it says undefined. How you will verify whether it is defined or not? We write a condition. If it is defined, then we will print the age. So if it is not defined, then we will put some text saying that please enter age. We will do like this. Then usually it is going to display please enter age because age is not defined. You are not supplying any value. How you can supply value into it? You can initialize or you can assign. How you can assign into that set age and you can say 22. Then automatically it will define that 22. So if value is not provided into any reference that you create in state, it is going to by default use undefined as value. And how developer will verify whether the value is defined in a reference or not? That is usually done in JavaScript by using this simple logic, right? So this is in JavaScript. So in React, how you do this? Usually in React, how do we do this? Just we have a constant age and is use state, and it is not having, I just given a getter and I try to print age. Now what it is going to do is equal to what? Undefined. Just syntax I am giving. Detail example I will give. So this is example data binding binding.jsx. So I will copy this example. This is data binding.jsx. So this is a simple concept of understanding how we have to handle undefined, because if you don't define a value, by default they are undefined. Right. Next, another important, what you will come across while working with JavaScript based technology is null. What is difference between null and undefined? Undefined indicates that there is no value supplied during the compile time. Null indicates that there is no value supplied at runtime. At runtime, you are expecting some value and it is not supplied. Then it returns null. That is at null. That is at runtime. At compile time, value is not there. Then compiler will set undefined. Runtime means you are taking a value from a text box or a prompt or a drop down and the value is not supplied. Then obviously it will return null. So undefined is at compile time and null is at runtime. So for example, you know already, suppose you see, we are using some, let's go console. Yeah. You are using some prompt, prompt enter age. And in this prompt, so you can enter age and click OK. Then it will return that age as a string. If you click just OK without entering anything, it returns an empty string. If you click cancel, then it returns null. That means a value is expected at runtime and it is not supplied. Then it will return null. That means you click OK without value, then it is an empty string. It is an empty string. You entered here some value, then it will return that value. You are canceling. When you cancel, then it is null. That means it is going to supply null. So if value is expected at the time of creating, at the time of mounting, and that value is not supplied, then it will put as undefined. That means if anyone asks you, what will be the value of any state reference if the value is not supplied into it? If it is runtime, then it is null. If it is at compile time, that means at the time of creating component, mounting component, still value is not supplied, then it will put as undefined. So here, suppose we are now expecting the value from a prompt. From a prompt, we are saying enter age. From a prompt, we are expecting the value. Then this time, age is not undefined. Age is what equal to that null. If age is equal to null, then what we will do? We will display please enter age. Otherwise, we will put a message. What is the age? Why you are comparing with null now? Because we are expecting from a prompt which is dynamic and it will always return null when you cancel. That means now what happens here? You cancel that, then say please enter age. And you entered some age and it will get that and it should display that age there. If you cancel, then it is going to say please enter age. So here you cannot use undefined because you are expecting the value not at the time of creation or at the time of mounting. You are expecting at runtime. Then you need to verify by using null. That's a very basic thing of JavaScript. So null is a type returned when value is not, when value is not provided into reference at runtime of application, at runtime of application. Null is the keyword used to verify null reference. So we use null keyword to verify null reference. So syntactically, suppose constant age and set age, use state, and we are expecting set age from a prompt, say enter age. Then it returns null on cancel. Then usually we write the condition. What is that? If age equal to null, then enter age. Otherwise print that age. That's how we define. So undefined is one type. Null is another important type. So in React, you declare some state and you are using it and value is not supplied. Then what you are expecting? That depends on how you are trying to read the value. So if you are trying to read the value, store the value at the time of mounting and at the time of creation of component, then it is undefined. At runtime, after mounting, after creation, at runtime, you are expecting value and it is not provided, then it is null. So these are general primitive types of JavaScript that you can use in the same way. And begin already I told you numeric types. Begins are defined with n suffix. There is one more type called symbol. Symbol is a data type of JavaScript which we use with objects. Later when we create objects, I will show you how to deal with that. So symbol is a type which is used with objects. Later in objects, I will show you. Obviously, you already know in object. You learn JavaScript objects. So JSON. And when you know JavaScript objects, there we use a new type called symbol type. That is an ES5 and higher versions, that symbol type is available. So that also comes under primitive types, right? Later with object, I will show you how to deal with that. So technically in the types, we have another type called symbol. I will give an point here, but example later we will do that. What is symbol type in JavaScript is? So usually but example later we will do that. What is symbol type in JavaScript is? So usually haven't made this available to general developers. Remember, suppose you are learning Java or .NET or Python or JavaScript or any technology. The technology they built is not as it is provided to you. Even you are a developer, so everything is not provided to you. So they provided only few concepts for developers so that they can use them in building apps. There are so many concepts inside the language which developers don't know. Internally, they are used by the people who built the technology. They use it. For example, I will tell you a simple point, like suppose, means I will tell you a concept. You know for loops. So you know for each, right? So actually what for each will do, it will read every item from a collection and returns that item, right? If anybody asked you in interviews, because if you show up experience and all, what is the mechanism behind for each? What for each uses to read the values in a sequential order? What for each uses to read the value sequential order? Actually, for each uses a function, it uses a function generator. For each user generator, a function generator is going to read elements from a collection in a sequential order. And the function generator is going to return the values in a sequential order. Do you know the difference between for each and for? In for, you have to mention, you have to initialization, where to start, condition, that means when to stop, counter, how to proceed, plus plus, minus minus, increment decrement. But do you know in for each you don't do anything? In for each you will not tell when to start, you will not tell when to stop, you will not tell how to proceed, but it will do. How? Behind it. How for each knows where to start? How for each knows that there is no more to read? How for each knows that it should proceed to next? Because of this function generator. So generators are internally used to design such iterators. A developer don't know this. He is using some function. But the person who designed the function, he knows some more things than you. That every concept is not given to you. Only functionality is given to you. And if developers ask the people that please provide that facility to us so that we can also create like that, then they will think about it. Why? Because they cannot simply provide such concepts to you, because it may lead to a lot of technical issues, because people can easily hack your application if they know what is behind. That's the reason functions are given to you. Behind the functions you don't know. They are not given access to you. Actually, you know, so for example, how iterator usually works general. Why I have to tell that? Because of this symbol concept only. So you have a, suppose we have a function and get list. Actually, this is a yield. It yields what? It yields 10. And it yields what? Some John. So it yields what? It can yield an array. Something like this. It can do so many things. This is a function generator in JavaScript. Right? And what we are doing is, suppose list is equal to get list and console.log. So we are using a list.next. And do you know what is happening here? In this concept, you can observe. You see, I created a generator. What that generator is doing is in the console. So you can see in the console, it is returning the value, first value. First value is how much? 10. And after that, it is saying done false. That means it is not finished. There is more value. How you write a for loop? You will write for I equal to 1, I less than or equal to 10, I plus plus. That means it will check the condition. The condition will tell that the number is greater than or less than. Then based on that, it will proceed to next. How for each is working? It is internally having a property called done. The done property will return true if there are no more values. If there is a value, then it will return false. I will run this line one more time, second time, third time, fourth time, and you can see that it is going to read and finally done is true, means there is no more data. When done is true, for each will stop. That means it will not proceed. That means for each or map or slice or so many iterator functions you learned in your programming, they are internally designed by using function generators. Ordinary developers may not know about these function generators, but technicians with highly skilled and involved in developing such libraries, they know them. But even for general outside world, these are not openly provided earlier. Earlier, we don't have access to this generator. We can't create a generator because they don't provide access. After later versions of JavaScript, because of lot of demand from the developers that we want this, we want to use this by ourselves, then they made it as open, available, so that you can use. That means there are so many language related concepts you don't know which work in your language in the background. Similarly, such concept, one of the major such concept is this symbol type. What is a symbol type? Symbol type is used by loops, iterators, everyone. What this symbol do is internally it keeps, for example, you are writing a loop. Loop runs how many times? Suppose 10 times. How for will remember that it finished for one time or two times? How for remembers that it finished two times, it finished three times? Is it showing that information to you that I finished two times? No, but it is remembering that it finished two times. That is through symbol. Symbol is one value which is used to store some data but hide the data. That means don't show it, use it internally. That means we want to provide something which will be hidden, but it will be used. That is created by using what? Symbol. For example, this actually you will use while working with objects. That means, for example, you learned about JavaScript objects. So var product is an object, you know object type. In object we have keys. So for example, product have an key ID. ID is 1. Product have a name. So product have a price. Like this, some product related details are there. Like this. Now what I want to do is, I am using for var property in product. We are reading every property and printing it. Document.write property. We are printing the property with a line break, and you can see I am printing all the properties here. I am printing all the properties here. So let's open this one. You can see I am printing all the properties. What is my requirement is ID must be there, but it should not be shown. It should be internally used. I don't want to show ID. That means your user ID I will not show. Your username I will show. But I will use your user ID in the background for verifying you, for updating your details. ID is required, but I don't need to show this ID. Then how you design a field in such a way that it is hidden, but it is available. It is hidden, but it is available. How to do that? For that, what we do, we create ID as a symbol. When you create ID as a symbol, the symbol is enclosed in a square brace. That means now ID is how much? 1. So ID is present, but it is not visible. But it is present. If you want, you can individually use it. Suppose at the bottom I am using document.write. I want to print here product ID. is equal to, I want to print the ID, then product of what? ID. Then it is going to print the product ID. ID is working, but it is not visible. That means in iterations, it will hide it, but it will use it. That means we want some data hidden. We don't want it to visible, but use it in the background. In JavaScript, generally for that we use symbol. Symbol is a data type of JavaScript that we use to create hidden types. Hidden types. Usually that is the concept of symbol. That means what it does is, so it creates a hidden key for object. So hidden keys are ignored over iterations, but are accessible individually. They are hidden over iterations. Is equal to symbol. Product is an object in that ID is having some value. So name is having some name like this. So over iterations, when you are trying to read, the ID will be ignored. It will not show. But individual, it is available. Product of ID. Like this we are displaying. So a React developer should know how to handle different data types provided to him, because data means all types will be there. And these are all the JavaScript primitive data types, right? So in the summary, the primitive types, primitive types, we have number, we have boolean, we have string, we have null, you have undefined, you have symbol. In number, one new type is there. What is it? Begin. That comes under number type only. These are the new, old, all together, the primitive data types of JavaScript. So a React developer cannot use all the types in the same way how he used in JavaScript. Here some techniques we should know, which I already showed you. Booleans we can't show, and we can't write if conditions here. We have to just use ternary operators to display the values and all, right? Next, after understanding the primitive types, and you know the non-primitive types, let's see binding non-primitive types. How we can bind the non-primitive types and how we can deal with the non-primitive types. Now, some concepts about non-primitive types you already know. What is difference between primitive and non-primitive types? Non-primitive types are mutable. Primitive types are immutable. Non-primitive types are stored in a memory stack. Primitive types are stored in a, they are stored in a heap. Primitive types are stored in a stack. So in the non-primitive types, so what are the JavaScript non-primitive types? We have an array type. And technically, I'm not explaining you anything about array here because already in JavaScript you learn that. Only the way how to deal with it in our React, we will see that, right? That is the point. Because you already learned all the array concept, which is very important to handle, right? So what are the basics of array you learned is some basics I tell you here. So configuration. Array configuration. How you configure array? We have two techniques now. By using meta character and by using array constructor. We have meta character and constructor. So how you configure array? Through meta character and constructor. That means what you do, var values is equal to array. So var values is equal to new array. You know both of them. What is difference? One is meta character, another one is constructor. What is difference? So wherever in computer programming, when you see the word new, means it is a dynamic memory allocation. And if there is no new, it is a static memory. It is a static memory. That means the memory, static memory means continuous memory. Static memory is a continuous memory. Memory allocated for first request will continue the same for other requests. If you need continuous operations on the data, you need data to allocate in the memory and you need continuously work with the data. Then you use array declaration with a meta character. If you declare with a array constructor is dynamic memory. That means it will allocate the memory every time newly. A dynamic memory. That means disconnected operations you can do by using meta character constructor. Connected operations you can do by using meta character. That means it refers to the static memory and refers to the dynamic memory. Static memory is continuous memory. Dynamic memory is a discrete memory. Discrete memory. Later you will dealing with TypeScript like language. You will understand about that. Actually, it is there in all OOP languages. So OOP languages, they support both static as well as dynamic, right? Later, I will tell you more when we learn about TypeScript like language, but static memory, the memory allocated for first object will continue for others. Dynamic memory is a discrete memory. If anyone asks what is difference between static and dynamic, technical answer is static refers to continuous memory and dynamic refers to discrete memory. Discrete memory. So I will show you a concept. You don't worry how I am doing it, just see the concept, right? I will show you one concept about the understanding about static and dynamic. For example, suppose, so we are having the two types of memories. So this is the static memory and this is the dynamic memory. Suppose we are having a class, some demo. This class is having a static S and a dynamic N. We have S and N. And S value is increased by 1. N value is also increased by 1. But S is static, N is dynamic, non-static, right? Now, usually what happens is the memory will be allocated. The memory will be allocated for them. That means for this class, the memory is shared as static and dynamic. Now what happens is S is stored in the static memory. It is initially 0. N is stored in the dynamic memory, which is also 0. Now what happens is you created an object 1. You created an object 1 for this demo class. Now this object 1 will use S, and it will use which one? N. It will use S and N. And S is static. What it will do? S equal to, what is it? 0 plus 1. That means S value will be 1. And here also same. N is equal to 0 plus 1. That means N value is also 1. First object finished. Now we are creating another object. We are creating another object obj2. We are creating another object for the same class. We are creating another object. Now this object will go to static, and the memory already used by first object will still be there. It will continue for second. It will continue for the second. That means for second object, the S value will be 1 plus 1. It will be 2. But when it goes to the dynamic memory, after first object finished, it will destroy it. After first object completed, it will be destroyed. Dynamic memory is destroyed. Static memory is continuing. When dynamic memory is destroyed, then second object will allocate the memory again for it. Then again N is equal to 0 plus 1. It will be always 1. That means static is continuing and dynamic is discrete, disconnected in access. That is the nature of a static and dynamic, static and non-static. I will show you one point. Don't worry what I am doing in program. Just observe the concept. So I am creating here class demo. In this we have a static S is equal to some 0 and N is also equal to 0. I have a constructor, and demo.s is equal to demo.s plus 1 increase by 1. This dot n is equal to this dot n plus 1. And we have a print method which is going to print console log. So S is equal to the value of demo.s and N is equal to the value of this dot N. I'm just having this. I will create an object 1 for which class? Demo. And through that object 1 I will access print. And I will create another object for the same class. And through that object 2 I am accessing print. I will create another object 3 for the same class. And I am accessing print. That means 3 objects created, 3 different objects created for the same class. Okay, let's run this and see now. I will show you this program. Just don't worry what I am writing, what I am doing. Just observe the concept here, right? Now here what I am doing is demo.ts. It is okay. I'm compiling it actually, and after compiling we will run it. Okay, node demo.js. I'm running it. You can see that it is having 1, 2, 3 and n is 1. 3 different objects. But why S is continuing? The memory allocated for first object, remember all 3 objects are using new memory. but the memory allocated for first object will continue for others. That is static. And dynamic is the memory is newly allocated for every object. So that means static is continuous and dynamic is disconnected. That means every time memory is allocated. That is the basic thing in any programming language. Anywhere anybody asks what is static, what is dynamic, you should not answer like static is accessed by class name, non-static is accessed by using instance of class. Who asked you how to access? I asked what is static and dynamic. Why you are telling me how it is accessed? This is the answer majority OOP learners will give when we ask what is static and non-static. Why you are telling me how to access? I am asking you what is it? What is static? It is continuous memory, non-static discrete memory. Okay. Tell me a real-time example for this. Means explain me the static and non-static in a real world scenario. Static and non-static in a real world scenario. One example, let's see. For example, you are using some bank app. You are transferring amount to a particular number, phone pay or something. Then you are transferring some amount to a number. Then memory is allocated to handle the transaction. Now it will ask you to enter a password. Verify. You verify the password, money transferred to the same number. Immediately again you are sending some money, same number. It will ask password again. Why? Already just now I given. What happened to the password just now I given? Why you are asking me again? Because the memory allocated for the transaction is disconnected after the transaction is finished. So which type of memory it is using? Dynamic memory it is using. So you opened Gmail, you logged in. It will ask enter your user ID and password. You entered user ID and password. Then login, successful. You have 10 mails. You clicked on first mail. It will ask again password. If it is asking again password for every connected manages memory well. Why it manages memory well? It manages memory well because it is going to handle the memory, destroying the memory immediately after using the memory. These all generally you will learn in the OOP concept. But here I need to explain just to make you understand difference between these two. Because in React interviews also they ask this question. Like in JavaScript array, what is difference between meta character and constructor? Do you know what many people give answer for this? In array constructor we can give size like 2, 3, 4. But do you know in JavaScript dynamically size can change. Array size is not fixed. It can change dynamically. In other programming languages, array size cannot change dynamically, but in JavaScript it can change. Size is not the point. So what is difference between these two? So what is difference? Difference between meta character and array constructor. What is the difference? Which is continuous memory. Array constructor defines dynamic memory, which is discrete memory. Discrete memory. So when you recommend to use declare array with meta character, and when you recommend to declare array with constructor, that depends on how you want to deal with the data. If you want to deal with the data in memory continuously, then declare it by using an meta character. If you want in a disconnected access, not continuous access, then better use a constructor. So another question is when to use meta character and array constructor. So when you want operations on data continuously, then declare by using meta character. Then you have to declare by using meta character. And when you want disconnected operations on data, then declare using array constructor. That is the point. These are all general JavaScript concepts only. So here you are not learning any new thing actually. These are all general array concepts of JavaScript. I'm just refreshing all those points because here we have to deal with a lot of data through array form, because you know JavaScript based technologies, data means array, object and array, right? Okay, this is configuring array, and you already know array methods. You already know array methods, no? You learned different types of array methods. That means array methods for reading the values. So for storing the values, removing those values, sorting values, right? You have learned various array methods. Reading, you can read values by using what are the methods you can use. How you can read the values from array. Remember, here this is important for you because already we know in JSX we cannot use statements. That means in JSX to read an array and present an array, you cannot write a for loop. You cannot write a for each statement, right? You cannot use them. They are statements. You cannot use them. Then how? How you can read the elements from an array? In JSX, you cannot use for loop. You cannot use iterators. Then how you will do that? You know some methods of array for reading. We have array methods toString. We have array method join. We have array method what? Slice. Slice also reads from specific index to specific index. We have what? Map. We have what? Find. We have what? Filter. Right? We have for each also. For each. But this is not recommended. We prefer using iterators. By using the iterators, these are all iterators. By using these iterators, we can read the data from an array and we can use it. Let's see how we can do that. And remember, this is reading, and use push. We can use what? Unshift. And you can use what? Splice. You learned about that, right? How to remove. So we have like pop. So we have like shift. You have again splice. You can use that. So, and how to sort. You have like sort You have like what? Reverse. Like that, you learned so many array methods, you can use all of them. Array have a lot of methods, you can use all the methods. The major is manipulating array, reading, adding, removing, sorting, all such options. Filtering you can do by using filter and find. Searching elements in array, returning those elements you can do by using find and filter. So what is the best and fastest way of reading elements from an array in modern scripting is map. Map is an iterator, and iterators are more faster than loops. We don't prefer using loops. You will see very rarely any JavaScript developer using a for loop for reading an array. You will see very frequently Java.NET people using C++ people using for loops for dealing with arrays. But JavaScript we don't prefer, because JavaScript have more faster and better methods for reading the elements from an array, which we call them as iterators. Iterators are more faster than loops. So usually how to configure array and how to present the array. Let's see the concept. So what I am doing now here, so I will remove this use effect and all. As of now I don't need this. Let's declare one simple array, and I will show you the difference actually. You know, in your JavaScript constant we have categories. Categories is an array, is equal to use state. Array means you initialize in a square brace. We have like all, we have like electronics, we have like fashion, so footwear, these are all available here. This is a simple array. I initialized some values into this, and you know already how to initialize value into an array. Through a meta character we are initializing the value. Okay. Now I want to read these values and present them. And you know the pain in JavaScript. In JavaScript, presenting array is a lengthy concept. You learn now? So in JavaScript, presenting array is a very complicated task. For example, suppose in your JavaScript, suppose we are having an ordered list and body on load, some body load, and we write a script here. We write a script function body load. When body loads, we are having just globally, let me declare categories is an array. All, some electronics like this, and fashion something. Now I want to read all these and add into ordered list. That means I need to read every element from array and add into the ordered list as a list item. That is the general task we have. How you do in JavaScript? To read every element from an array, we use categories.map. Map uses a callback function. We can read every category. After reading every category, for every category, we are reading every category. For every category, we have to create a list item. How to create a list item? Document.create element. Create element, which one? Li. And li inner HTML. Inside li, we need to display what? Category. And this li should be added into ordered list. That means document dot what? Query selector. Ordered list dot what? Append child. Which one? Li. This is going to add your data into this list. That is how JavaScript handles the data. That means reading the data from array, presenting the data in array, it's a very complicated thing. That's what generally JavaScript do, right? That means suppose I want to generate this list into a drop down. I want to generate that list into a drop down. Then again same map, but this time I have to create an option document dot what create element. What is it? Option. We have to create an option, and every option will have a text. Text will be the category name. Every option will have a value. Value also category name. And add this option into drop down document dot query selector. What is it? Select. Into select, what we have to do? Append child. Which one? Option. Then the list is added into drop down. And you have learned JavaScript and you know the pain of creating a table, right? So if data is very complex, array of objects, JSON, and I need to present a tabular form, then it is very complicated. That means I have to create a row, I have to create cells, add cells to row, add row to body, add body to table. It's a lengthy concept. That's how JavaScript can do. Is there any alternative for this in JavaScript? No. This is the only way. There is no alternative for that. Alternative is use jQuery, which will be little better than JavaScript. Simple. But more simple than this, React. React will provide very simplified techniques for you. That means now you don't need to do all this. Let's see how to present here. Suppose I want to present. I will put here suppose categories. I want to display the list of categories in an ordered list. So in an ordered list, I need to present list item. Then here you write a binding expression. You put a binding expression. How to read every item from a collection? What is our collection? Categories. Dot what? Map. And what you have to do? Map uses a callback function which will read every item. That means it will read what? Every category. And every category should be returning. Every category should be returning a list item. Every category should be returning a list item. In that list item, text should be the category name. That's it. That's it. That means you have to map, read every category, and for every category, you have to return a list item. Remember, you should not put a curly brace here. It becomes a definition. Without curly brace, you know this is written. You know na arrow methods how to write. JavaScript arrow functions. How do you write arrow functions? Suppose you are writing a function f1 a comma b and it should return a plus b. Then how do you write this? In a shorthand way, how you write that? So suppose var f1 is equal to a function a comma what? B returns a plus b. That's how you write, right? That means remember, you cannot write so like this a comma b and implies you cannot write a plus b. This is not written. That is definition. Definition means it will do the functionality, but it will not store that result anywhere. It will do a plus b, but it will not store the result anywhere. And to store the result, we have to just give this one. This indicates calculate, and whatever result comes, store in the function reference, right? So here we need to use this technique. Now you can see that it is going to generate the list here. It is going to generate the list here. It is fine. It is going to generate the list. But one problem is there. What is the problem? Very simple. Problem is nothing but what JSX is giving you a warning is, it is saying that you are repeating one element several times, right? If you are repeating one element several times, I need a unique reference for every item. That is what JavaScript is expecting. So that means in React, when you repeat one element several times, then JSX requires a unique reference for every item. JSX says that if you are repeating one item 10 times, then how do I know fifth item? I want a reference for it. That means it is expecting a key for every repeating item. That means you see here it is reporting a problem. Each child in a list should have a unique key. It should have a unique key. This is very important. If you don't give a unique key, then it will unable to identify which occurrence, which item is present. That means here what you have to do, any item which is repeating, that repeating item, you should provide a key. And what is the key? Actually, the key can be the same value, or in JavaScript, map is going to return two parameters. One is value, another one is index. We can use that index as a key here. We can use index as a key. You can use index as a key. What is advantage of this? At which index, which item is there? It is easy now. So that based on the index, we can delete any particular item. We can modify any item. If same item is repeated, how do you know which item, which place? For every item, we need a unique reference. For example, you are creating a table. In that 10 rows will be there. You will not design 10 rows. You will design only one row and it will repeat how many times? 10 times. And in every row, there will be a delete button. I give the key, there is no issue now. That means every repeating item must have a key. And it is very simple. Suppose you want to design a drop down now. I think you can tell this. How to design a drop down? In a drop down, we have to put a binding expression. What we have to do? Categories. Categories dot what? Map. And map read what? Every category. And for every category, we need to create an option. Option should have a text. And what is the text? Category. And option should have a value. Value. Value is also category. Because text is what it shows, value is what it submits. Sometimes value is different, text is different. Here both are same. And every item needs a key. That key I can give the category as key, no problem. But make sure that it is unique. That means same name is not used for another. Unique key, right? That's okay. Now you can see it is going to generate that here. And that unique key is there now. And you see this list will be there. So this, if I have to do in our JavaScript or jQuery, little lengthy process. So now it is very simple and easy to handle. Currently we are dealing with simple data. Later complex data will come. Array in array. How you read array in array. So object in array. Lot complex data will come. Currently this is simple data. We are dealing with a simple data and we are accessing and displaying. And remember, displaying depends on all your HTML presentation. For example, if anyone asks like, I want all these categories in a nav bar. I want all these categories in a nav bar. That means in the nav bar, I want all the categories. Then how you design a nav bar? Then that is what your skills of designing comes, right, to picture here. So I'm creating a nav. And what we are doing here in the nav, so we are using a binding expression. Suppose this, what we are doing, categories dot map. And for every category, I am designing an anchor. Every category I am creating an anchor. In this anchor, we will display the category name. And usually href I will give here. So temporarily I will give slash, a backtick I will use. slash, and what it is? Dynamic expression. Dynamic expression is what? Category. Just roughly, we will not make it function. Later we can do that. Just roughly, I am defining here. This is href. And you are creating a link for every item. And this link should have a key. What is the key we should have? We should have the key as what? Category. That means it is going to generate a list like this. So we have a key, it is going to generate the list like this. And you know how to design your navbar. Class name is what? Deflex, justify content between. Then it will keep them like this. And this navbar I given as BG, suppose light. So, and we have border as 1, padding is 2, margin is 2. Then it will look like a navbar. And we want these anchors to have a class BTN and BTN, suppose warning, something like this. Then they look like buttons. That means dynamically you are generating. And whenever you add any one item, so here when you add any one item here, that means I am adding one item. So suppose I say kids fashion, then automatically it will add that there. It is going to update everywhere. How you generate your presentation depends on your HTML, CSS skills. Now, if anybody asked you like, I want all these categories in a checkbox list. How? I want all these categories in a checkbox list. I want a scrollable checkbox list. That means if there are many categories, I must be able to scroll up and down. These are all design requirements. And you can't do that if you are not good in your CSS and styling. Right? These are very common. If there are 100 categories, how you will show 100 categories all one below another? No, you create a scroll bar now. How to create a scrollable list for this? For example, I want these as checkboxes which can be scrolled and viewed. Then see what I am doing here. That depends on your presentation skill. As I told you, here what we will do now is this ordered list, what we will give as class as list unstyled. List unstyled means it is going to remove that list. And every list item category here, inside every list item, we are using an input. Input type is equal to what? Checkbox. We are using a checkbox. Usually checkbox have a label and this is the category name. That means every item will display like this. Every item is going to display like this. That means it will give a checkbox for everyone. And I want this scrollable, not this much lengthy. Then you know how do you define the styles, right? So for example, I am applying a class as scrollable list.